You're listening to the Audiofemme Podcast.
I am Marianne, and I am the founder of Audiofemme, and I'm also an accountant. If you know, you know.
I'm Mandy. I'm the co-director of Audiofemme and the managing editor of Cream, America's only rock and roll magazine.
We are here to bring you the hottest of hot takes on all things girlies, gays, and theys.
We've got sex, we've got music, we've got pop culture, we've got some witchy shit thrown in there.
Don't come into our space and project onto us what you want us to be and what makes you comfortable. We don't exist to make you feel good.
The people are wondering, are we just Nepo babies? Where does the Audiofemme money come from?
My professional background is, just surviving in New York.
Every corporation in America sent out a Juneteenth. These are unprecedented times email in 2020, but most of them are not anymore. And that guy's mouth breathing in his mom's basement.
She got invited to do the VMAs, which is crazy, especially as somebody who hasn't gotten any big recognition. And because of it, she had to cancel one of her tour stops. And people were like, wow, so you don't care about your fans? Wow.
What?
Girl, I would drop y'all each individually on your head to go perform at the VMAs. What are you talking
about? All right, guys, welcome back to the Audiofemme Podcast. This is episode 2 of Women Talking. I am Courtney Roberson. If you don't know me, I am the face behind Audiofemme social media. We have Mandy Brownholtz here.
Hi, I'm Mandy. I'm the co-director of Audiofemme and the former managing editor of Cream magazine because I was laid off this week. So my LinkedIn profile says open to work now.
Condolences. We have a guest today. All right, y'all. Welcome Mijita to the building. Hello. Amazing. What would you classify yourself? Rapper, singer?
I classify myself as an artist, period.
Yeah.
And then, in that umbrella, it's I rap, I sing, I paint, I act, I dance, I make clothes, I do everything. By the time I'm 45, I'll be making everything, trust.
A multidisciplinary artist from New York and Florida. She's been making hella waves in the New York City area with her crazy visual. She has this super unique style, as you can tell. And we have something special coming for y'all, and that's why she's here, so that we can break the news. With that being said, we're gonna hop into some hot topics that we have on the docket for you guys. We're serving up a menu of current events and celebrity news, ranging from mild to burning hot. We'll start with some appetizers and work our way up to the dishes that might just set your tongue on fire. Starting with our mild sauce here, we have a Pop Girl Resurgence happening right now. We have Charlie XCX, we have Sabrina Carpenter, we have ChappelRoan, who hates being famous, and we just feel like we have a girl for everybody at this point. You can be a Charlie girl, you can be a Chapel girl, you can be a Sabrina girl, and it's just different flavors of the rainbow. Even if you're not a super poppy girl, there's someone that everyone can kind of relate to and put on their playlist, which is kind of interesting because for a time there wasn't really a breath of girls to really attach yourself to. So this time is kind of interesting.
I like that we're talking about this now because it's the end of the summer of this. This was a summer phenomenon, and I feel like we're giving ourselves an opportunity to reflect on what has been as we enter the fall. And I sort of agree with you. I think it's very much how people will classify themselves as a Sex and the City character, or even as a astrological, they'll be I'm a Carrie sun and a Miranda rising or whatever. I feel like it's sort of a similar vibe, and I didn't realize it until I went to see Mitski at Meriwether Post in Maryland on Sunday with my sister and my best friend who's visiting from New York, and we all were obsessed with different facets of this. Laura is super into ChappelRoan and Sabrina Carpenter, and Sean is really into ChappelRoan, and I like haven't really listened to either of them, but I've been like brat pilled and have finally like fallen into like the Charlie XCX fandom. I like how they're talking about things that are actually like a problem for us. Like I've gotten really into the like the lore surrounding Charlie and Lord, about how they like they were like having this like girl feud that neither of them really understood, but like that
It's
happens
the
to us all
feud. I
the
never heard
time.
of it.
There wasn't even really a feud. It was kind of that like Charlie always just kind of got the vibe that like Lord didn't like her, and like people were constantly like comparing them because they sort of like look the same, like they both have like big curly hair, you know what I mean? And like it wasn't even that like Lord doesn't like Charlie XCX, it's just that she was like intimidated by her and like wasn't feeling very good about herself or very confident. So she was kind of like avoiding her because she found Charlie's like confidence and stuff very like intimidating and like kind of troubling.
There's a bunch, or at least white passing, because I know we just said like but that Charlie is of color, but a lot of people don't know. It's not like an entire story,
Gives
which
me like a little bit of something. Like, you can just tell when
yeah.
somebody has like a little something.
Yeah, you can look at them and you're like, you got a little spice in you, but I don't know what that spice is.
Her
But
mom is Indian, Courtney, but her mom is Indian, like some like sub culture of Indian that is like Uganda. Like her mom was born in Uganda, but she's Southeast Asian, which I like don't know the whole story, but anyway, continue.
there's a lot of up and coming ones that are amazing. I make a lot of pop music, but Flower of Love, like I don't know if y'all have heard of her. She's super young. She's like 19. But all her stuff is so cute. It's like so catchy. All of her visuals are so cute. She dances in all of them. It's like her and all her friends. She like makes videos with her parents, like promoting her music. And it's all like age appropriate, it's all cutesy, it's all so good. There's so many like really fire like alternative rap that like mix pop into it, like girlies like Bree Runway. Bree Runway is like literally such a legend in her own right. Like everything she does, like without even realizing, like she impacts the culture from the underground. Like everybody's watching Bree Runway. Like I can personally say, like everybody's watching. If you're not watching Bree Runway, your eyes are closed. Like she, that British like pop rap like hard girl like I really hope that like this resurgence like allows for a lot more artists to break through in that way, because I'm like there are so many people making all this cute music and like the Pink Panthers of it all, like the
Yeah.
little hyper pop of it all. Like it's so lovely. Like I love the idea that because I feel like so often they're scared to market brown people as anything but R&B and rap. Like the other day when they were like Tito Touchdown, our best new R&B artist. I was like, when did he make an R&B song? Like all his music is super alt, super rock. But I feel
Yeah.
like they're often like they try to fit us into the exact same categories. So it's like seeing now that it's like a pop girl resurgence. It's like you guys like open up the pop doors, like literally let them in, because there are some crazy people over there like doing some crazy stuff. A Mindy is another amazing pop girl who's been doing crazy stuff. She dropped like a project called Lover this summer, and I cannot stop listening to it. It actually has taken over my life. Like y'all were having a brat summer, I was having a lover summer.
I like that I also just like that it's like also divorced like from being male gazy. Like I like that all of it is about being like hot and scary, you know what I mean? Like scary to men and not like fulfilling the familiar tropes that we all like, like a Britney circa 1998, you know what I mean? So what about you, Courtney? What is your pop girly flavor for summer 24 as we wrap it up post Labor Day?
Honestly, like I'm not a pop girl like in my core, but I can appreciate, I always say this, like even if I don't necessarily listen to a genre, like I can appreciate like good talent and good music. Like it might not necessarily be like my splash of hot sauce, but like I know what somebody else is. And um I've been hearing Sabrina Carpenter, like I be seeing her do her thing, her 1-2, and I think like all of the success is like super well deserved. And Who's the other girl? Charlie. I mean, I hear her music everywhere, and I can actually rock with that. No, there's this song. What is it called? Broom Broom. I got onto that. I was like, wait, she got one. She got one. I listen to that when I work out. ChappelRoan, I don't know too much about her, honestly. Like, I've been seeing her face a lot and I've heard a few of her songs. I think that she's really interesting. Like, she has like that dark feminine type of wave that I see why the girls are attaching themselves to her. But I've also seen like her, I guess you would call it like controversy about how like she doesn't really like the attention that she's been given, not necessarily attention, but probably like the byproduct of being famous, which I think is really interesting. Like above more so like the conversation of being a pop girl resurgence is just like these people are seeing the transformation of like fame in real time. So, like social media is giving everybody so much access to being an artist, and the antithesis of that is our audience thinking that they're also like in the industry and like A&Rs and producers and tour managers, and it's like everybody thinks that they have opinion and everybody feels like they're closer to the artist than they actually are. So sure. I think that it's really cool that she's able to like speak up for herself and be like, y'all are out of line, because they are out of line. Like thinking that you can step over someone's boundaries just because they're famous, just because they're on your playlist, is just not okay. So I think she's cool for that. Like, I think the pop girls have been made to be like little nurses and like little maids in like the past, where they couldn't really say much and they just had to be cute and do their little 1-2 on stage and like get off and say nothing. But like you said, Mandy, I feel like there's like another identity being built around being like a pop girl. Like you can be multiple things within one.
You can be alternative and you can have your own aesthetic. I'm like, I get where ChappelRoan's coming from like hating. Like, I don't think people should be like touching anybody they don't know in public. That was like the big thing that she said in her rant, was like, don't fucking touch me, which like fair. But it's also like at the same time, you are famous because your fans made you famous. I think that there's just like, there has to be like balance, you know what I mean? And I think that part of the problem is that we've entered this paradigm where it's like, if you didn't get pics or a video of something, it didn't happen. Like I was listening to another podcast about this topic the other day, and they were talking about how, I think it was Paul McCartney, but like, don't quote me on that. Paul McCartney would like not let people take photos of him with him, but he would have a conversation with you. He'd be like, you can't take a picture with me, but like we can chat for a couple minutes. And like people would get like put off. You know what I mean? Because it's like, here's your chance to like talk to somebody that you idolize and love and are a huge fan of, but because you can't get the picture to show people that it happened, you're mad. So I think like part of the issue is not even just that we like have these like fucked up parasocial relationships with famous people. It's that like we can't be present anymore in the moment. You know what I mean? And we can't, we have to get the artifact to show people later for our own clout.
Yeah.
Just our own obsession with fame. You know, we want to feel a little famous.
Yeah. It's also like with people like ChappelRoan has been making music for so long. Like I've been hip to her for a while now. Not to be like I've been hip to her for a bit, but
no, please be like that.
Like Manhattan's #1 champion for the past like 2 years. Ever since she dropped that song, I've been putting it on everywhere. I'm like, y'all don't understand. Like this girl's the future. Like my friends always tell me that I'm that type of person where like if I put them onto a song, like they know that like 3 weeks later the person's gonna be famous. They like call it like a thing that I do all the time. But the thing with ChappelRoan and Charlie XCX and Sabrina Carpenter alike is that all these people have been having careers for years. Like ChappelRoan was famous around Troye Sivan YouTube times, where like he found her when he was dating Connor Franta, and then they like posted about her all the time. So like I used to listen to her covers when I was like 12, 13. And
wow.
Yeah, because she used to just post covers on YouTube just all the time. And then now she had like a witch aesthetic. And now she's like in this new, like more her own aesthetic. But I think it's like for a while, like Chapel's been big. She was on tour with Olivia Rodrigo. She was running around. She was doing all the shows. And it's like she was there. I don't think there's ever been a point in time where we had like open, like lesbians that are open about being lesbian so famous. You know what I mean? Like I don't think we've ever had like besides like Ellen DeGeneres like doing like TV shows and hosting. It was like Ellen and nobody else, but having like someone who's on stage making songs about loving girls, making songs about kissing girls and being huge. I'm sure that's something she never even imagined would be able to happen for her because for so long it's not been a thing that lesbians are uplifted in music. Before Lil Nas X, gay men weren't even uplifted in music. It was like he had to get huge in order, and then afterwards, after the fact, be like, "Oh, I'm gay, by the way," in order to get that platform. So I think it's also like that comes with a lot of extra things because it's like when you're meeting someone in person and they want to take a picture with you, you have no idea if they're actually your fan. Like, because there's so many people who just want a picture with somebody just to say they met them, who just want a picture with somebody so they could be like, oh,
Yeah.
saw on the street yesterday, or like, oh, like I know a couple people on Twitter like you, and you can't. There's literally no way to distinguish that in person. So it's like, that on top of like a bunch of people were stalking her family, which is
Yeah.
that is really scary. Like her being open about being from a small town and then having a family that still lives in that small town that now is like having people show up to their jobs, like her mom, her sister, like getting followed around, getting stalked,
Yikes.
like trying to like find vessels of her, which I really feel like is an issue that stems from One Direction. But that's a whole other thing, just because I feel like that like fandom crazy mentality where it's like I need to know your second cousin's middle name like only ever showed
Yeah.
up like in America when One Direction got huge and people were like hashtag cut for Zayn and things like that. Like things just got
I
really,
remember those times. Those were
yeah,
dark, dark times.
lines just got really like blurred. And it's like now that energy is being turned on to these girls who are like, Chapel is like 5'4". Like she's like 5'4", like 100 pounds. Like that must be so terrifying to know that like by walking down the street, if someone sees your red hair coming out of the back of your hat, they might like run up on you and they could be anyone carrying anything from any walk of life who feels any sort of way about you, especially as someone who's openly a lesbian. Like, I'm sure that is terrifying because, like, being in, like, they still have people like chanting outside of Planned Parenthoods. They still have so many people who are not okay with being gay so many places. And she's everywhere around the world. So I'm sure that is a whole other level of like comfortability. And it like, it sucks because it is like, oh, people who really love you, people who really care for you are not gonna be able to like have that same level of like, oh, like I got to meet Chapel and da 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 da. Because it's kind of like the general, like the weirdos ruin it. Like the weirdos will just ruin it for everybody because you can't distinguish if someone's a weirdo in 10 seconds. So it's better to just assume everyone's a weirdo to keep yourself safe. And that I'll never
Facts.
be mad. Yeah, I'll never be mad at somebody for that because I don't talk to people on the
Mhm.
street today. I will
Yeah.
won't like and like being like introverted, extroverted, all that type of stuff. Like she is very open about her issues with not her issues, but with her bipolar too. And she tries to be very open about that. And as she was coming up, she kind of had like a set of rules for her fans. Um,
Mhm.
just so that way it was like they were both comfortable with every interaction that they had. But as she's gotten bigger, like after Coachella and all that stuff, it's like kind of like the order that she had with her fandom, the conversations that they could have and the comfortability they could have is kind of just gone because it's like
It's
this,
not just them anymore. It's like
yeah,
you're mainstream, you hit the GP.
yeah, it's like
Once things
everybody
hit the GP, it gets like sticky.
Yeah, because it can be anyone for any type of reason. Like I saw a girl's whole account 2 days ago on TikTok that every TikTok she thinks that Jason Momoa is harassing her. She like lives in the Midwest and like there's this woman, she just posts videos every day and she's like, Jason, you will never get to me. Like Jason really thinks he can get me. Like there's a lot of like mentally ill people that are not getting the help that they need, and they have access to a cell phone, and then they can listen to ChappelRoan, like, or go to three different stores that are all playing ChappelRoan, and then all of a sudden they're like, ChappelRoan's obsessed with me and she's stalking me. And it's like, and you have no idea what they're gonna do. Like, it's just so many other like deep issues that I'm like, girl, if you want to hide yourself in a box and only be delivered to stage and off stage, I'm not mad at you. Like, just sing your little songs and be safe, because that's like Beyonce don't talk to nobody either.
Well, it's like you pointed out a lot of things that are like larger societal issues that like can't totally be explained just in the context of ChappelRoan. Like it's like mental illness, it is technology, it is the way that those things intertwine with each other. And she's just one person that is caught up in like this maelstrom of factors.
Yeah, I feel like people are so hard on her now. Like, she got invited to do the VMAs, which is crazy, especially as somebody who hasn't gotten any like big recognition. And because of it, she had to cancel one of her tour stops. And people were like, wow, so you don't care about your fans?
Like,
Wow.
what?
Like, girl, I would drop y'all each individually on your head to go perform at the VMAs. What are you talking about? Like, what do you even mean? Like, that's
It's
crazy.
like every decision that the artist makes is so personal to these people. And it's always been like very mind-boggling to me, like how people can be so invested in someone. Like, yes, you can appreciate someone and be a fan of someone, but at the end of the day, you do not know this person and they don't owe you anything. Yes, you can be a fan and like your admiration and your appreciation puts dollars in their pocket, but I don't feel like that dictates whether or not they can speak to you or whether they should speak to you, whether they owe you a picture, whether they owe you an album, whether they owe you anything, honestly. Like you see that like conversation leading into, oh, you haven't given us an album in like 3 months. Like, where is it at? You know what I mean? Like, what? It just doesn't make sense to me, because, and maybe it's because like we kind of like work in this arena, so like we get the inner workings of everything, so we're not as like within the clouds about everything. But I think people forget that at the end of the day, these are just people who have a persona, and this is like a job. Like, yeah, you don't even know their name.
They don't even know that. People who use stage names, I'm like, it's a stage name for a reason. If you don't know her birth name, you don't know this woman. Like, and not in a way that like you Googled her name and now you know what her name is. Like,
yeah,
she never introduced herself to you as herself with her name. You only know her on stage being Chappell. You don't know this woman. Like, Chappell is an entity that her music comes out of. It's not a person. She's like, Chappell's not even a person for anyone to know. It's like something
that's not her real name.
No,
it's not. I forget her real name is, I guess, is this going to be like me being part of the problem to reveal this on the podcast? Her real name
I don't think she likes for people to use it at all.
Her name is Kaylee Rose Amstutz.
That's a very unique name, so I'm sure they are finding her in her license plate.
Yeah, for sure.
That's cray. But yeah, the parasocial relationships are out of control, honestly. Out of control. I've always been like very anti that, to be honest. Like, it kind of like disgusts me a little bit.
Because it's on every level that it like can really affect you. Like, I've had people have parasocial relationships with me just like on the baseline of like being on social media. Like,
yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, have you ever had any like experiences, like people coming up to you? I feel like you're kind of like getting a lot of motion in New York.
Yeah, I mean, me and a lot of my friends, like all of my friends are in the music scene as well. So it's kind of like we like share stories and stuff like that. But it's a lot of like weird things, and people just don't understand what they're doing, and they don't really know how to. I feel like people don't really know how to interact with women in a normal way yet, and I hope that one day they'll get there. But it's just like a lot of people assuming they know a lot about you. I had a podcast for a while. We're bringing it back soon, actually. But me and my roommate, we have a podcast together. We would go places and people would just start talking to me about something in my life that I said on the podcast, which is real, but also the most jarring thing that you can ever experience. Like,
yeah.
So last week you da 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 da. I'm like, I don't know you from a can of paint. Like that is just so freaky. But I think especially like I've had people hit up my mom asking for money and stuff.
Oh,
Like,
geez.
yeah,
Whoa.
like I've had people like show up to shows. I've had men, so many men. It's the creepiest thing in the world. Please do not do this. They would, because obviously I'm an independent artist, I'm posting where I'm at. I'm posting where I'm performing. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it would be men who I haven't talked to in 6 years who will text me and be like, hey, where are you? I'm at the event you're at right now. Hey, where are you? I know you're performing in 20 minutes. Can I see you? And that is so terrifying. Like, it's never, I'm not going to these shows. It's not a dating game.
No.
It's not a nothing like that. I'm not trying to do nothing with you. Like, and it just can get a little scary. My roommate, we have a situation. They're Asian, and a lot of people compare them to this one anime character. But the anime character is brutalized in the anime that everyone compares them to. So we've been trying to like help put the idea out that like, hey, maybe you shouldn't compare someone to a character like this and at such high volumes. And it's just like people don't understand why that's something that they would not be okay with. And it's like people just don't get it. I feel like people think that like, oh, if we're saying your name at all, it's a good thing. And it's like sometimes you can just be nice to someone and be normal. You don't have to compare them to like creepy anime characters that are getting their lives ruined every single episode in the most disgusting ways and being like, that looks just like you.
And
Like,
also, what happened to Cooth? Like, what happened to just like talking about things in your group chat and like not having your voice heard on the internet? I'm sorry, not everyone is.
I mean, the internet, and it's like, I think what you said just now, Mijita, about like the people don't know how to treat women is actually like such a great place to like transition into what Courtney has in the docket next, which is like, did you hear about this? Was it she was Nigerian, the track runner? What country was she from again, Courtney?
I believe she was from Ghana. I think she's Ghana.
Ghana.
oh,
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
her boyfriend set her on fire. And it's like it's literally like the same thing. I don't know if you guys saw this. This is like some crazy shit I read on the newspaper this week, which like I guess I should probably say like content warning or trigger warning. There's this like French man that's going on trial right now. Because like he'd been married to this woman for like 50 years and he had been drugging her, and so she like passed out and letting men into their house to have sex with her, and it was like 50 guys over the course of like decades that he was like, and he's like on trial right now, and all of the men that are involved on trial are on trial, and she had like no idea this was happening until the police told her it was happening, and she had been having like mysterious like she's like, why am I like blacking out for hours at a time? Like, am I like, do I have like a brain tumor or something? And I think it's just like something is like broke, like that, like why are men, you know what I mean? Why do they feel compelled to behave this way? Because these were like 50 men that had relationships, like stable relationships and partners. They had jobs. They were like truck drivers and teachers and bankers and lawyers and just like very average people. And like just that you put this thing on the docket about this track runner alongside me reading that in the newspaper this week. I'm like, wow, it's like a really compelling story about like how this is just like this like rotten thing on the Y chromosome that we haven't been able to like unpack or figure out.
yeah,
You
I
know,
just like the title of the episode, Why Do Men?
why
Honestly.
are men? Yes.
I feel like there's never been a point in time ever in history where women have been treated the way that they're supposed to be treated. I feel like every day we just realize more and more things that are wrong about like systemically down to like the issue is that all of the bigger issues span from all these tiny issues that people
Yes.
slip by with boys will be boys. Boys will be boys is the root of all problems. Like it's the tiny little things that people are teaching their sons that people are saying, oh, as soon as he comes out of the womb, they're like, oh, he's gonna be a heartbreaker. Oh, he's gonna kiss all these girls. Oh, he's gonna do
Yeah.
and this and that. And at the same time, they're having daughters, and at the first time, they're like, oh, I hate having a daughter. Oh, she can't wear this. Oh, she can't wear that. It's like we are just so policed to be ready for men to disrespect us. Like we are like put in a way where it's like, just in case when the men end up disrespecting you, here are the tools you'll need in order to maybe make sure that doesn't happen. Like maybe dress this way so that way it won't happen, but it will happen. Like it's like kind of like just a known thing and an okay thing in society, like down to like everything, like having like issues in college, issues in middle school, issues in high school. Like I don't think, I mean, personally, I'll speak for myself. I don't know anybody in my life who that's a woman or femme at all or anything that hasn't been assaulted by a man in some capacity. I don't know any.
It's like we're like trained to be restricted, and then men, they're trained to expand. Like we have to sit in this little snow globe, and like men have all of the space to like run free range. And the lady, like, she was literally just like coming home from church with her kids. I don't know if it's her husband, her, or just like her child's father, boyfriend, but literally in the chicken house, set her on fire after a disagreement. This isn't his first time doing this. They had been, or she had been attacked by him before over.
He cheated.
He cheated.
Every time I think about it, I'm like, I wish I could just like go to those old times with like being a big old corset, like little dress, like literally in old times, turning my light on with the fire, so I could change something about this back then, so nobody has to worry about it now.
The reason why we have Mijita here is because she is the star of our first inaugural event called Hot AF. We're so excited to bring this to y'all. We've been brainstorming ways to bring Audiofemme back to the streets. We are known in New York for producing amazing shows with amazing acts in the alternative and underground scene. So we wanted to bring some more of that energy and that fire back for y'all by producing a listening party with some artists that are on our radar.
Mijita has graced us with her presence for our first Hot AF anticipation of her. Is this your debut album coming out the first week of October?
It is. It's not the first week. It's like very in the beginning of October. I don't have an exact day that I'm allowed to speak out to the world yet, but very in October. Keep your eyes peeled.
What is the album called?
I haven't announced that yet. Is that?
Oh,
like,
you haven't? Oh, like
no. I haven't announced
exclusive.
that yet.
Exclusive.
Yeah, it's very. I can explain the vibe of it without explaining the exact title because it's kind of like something that I've been working on for a while. But the entire album is kind of like an amalgamation of like introducing the world to who I am in all like sectors of what I am. And a lot of the visuals, everything is surrounded around the idea of like kind of bringing people into my world instead of like showing myself to the world. I'm like, y'all come into my world actually. So it's kind of like a creation of my own little world. The title is a reflection of that too. I feel like so many times I talk about how the English language is not enough for me. So I've been making up a lot of my own words for this.
Do you sing? I see your Dominican flag in the background of your bedroom. Do you also like sing and perform in Spanish as well? Or is this like a language and totally of your own creation?
Of my own creation for sure.
Okay.
I don't sing a lot in Spanish just because I didn't grow up speaking a lot of Spanish. Like
Okay.
I have a lot of Spanish songs, but they're not a lot on my debut album. No. But it's a lot of things talking about my culture in different ways. I'm Puerto Rican and I'm Dominican.
Puerto Rican and Dominican, same
yeah.
island, right?
No, different islands.
They're not. What is is it Haiti and the Dominican Republic? Okay, sorry, that was like my ignorance right there. I was like, oh, cool.
You're real. Puerto Rico is like a commonwealth of the United States.
Yes,
so
yes.
not a part of the US, but like we get the US's scraps. It's terrible, but
Yeah.
yeah, my mom is Puerto Rican and Dominican, and then my dad is just Dominican. So
Okay.
And they don't sell any Puerto Rican flags uptown. So
Really? Wow. I'm like in New York, you can't get a Puerto Rican flag. I'm like, whoa.
and I find so many Dominican flags, but I never find no cute Puerto Rican ones. But yeah.
So that's a good segue because my first question was just to be like to have you like introduce yourself a little bit to Audiofemme's listeners. So like tell us a little bit about yourself and you already told us a little bit about yourself. You're Puerto Rican Dominican. You were born in New York, raised in Florida, now you live in New York again. So tell us a little about yourself and like how you came to music and stuff.
My parents always tell me that I've been like singing and drawing before I could talk. I'm like one of those little kids. So I've always kind of been creating. I thought for a while that I really wanted to do musical theater. I did that for like most of my life, in Florida. Everywhere I was in like 4 shows at a time. I would do like 3 competitions a year. I was like really in there. Like as soon as my parents saw that this was something that I liked, they were like, "We're gonna figure out a way to get you to do this all the time and everywhere." I did like Disney commercials as a baby and then like went on to doing like I would be in 4 shows at a time. I would do like a show at school, 2 shows out of school, and a competition every year of my life. And then
Mhm.
um I went to college for musical theater. But the entire time I was like, okay, like this is what I'm good at. Like I like singing, I like dancing, I like performing, but I really hate all the musicals. I was like, I hate all the musicals that I'm in. I'm like, I hate every single part of it. I hate having to like be somebody that's not me, but I didn't know how to like translate my music into the world. I just never really like thought of that being an option of people wanting to hear. My family's always made music too. Like we had a studio growing up because my uncle makes beats and like he's always made beats, but I was like the music they make is like hard rap music with a bunch of men. Like I have no space in there. Um
Yeah.
until I got into a songwriting class in college and I was actually like showing them stuff I was making and everybody was like, "Oh, this is really good. Like, do you do anything with this?" And I was like, "No, I just write them in my journal and I keep them to myself." Um, and once that happened, my teacher was like, "Hey, like, you should put some stuff out." And my dad, like, my parents are the most supportive people in the entire world, which is just amazing. I feel like very blessed to be able to say that. Um, but my dad was like, "Listen, like, come to Florida and we'll record a bunch of music with you. And then if you like it, we could put something together and we can all put it out together, like to make it kind of like a family operation." And that's what's been going on and I've loved it ever since. It's like I make all my music with my uncle and my cousin. Um and all the visuals and all the ideas are kind of just me. I just have like so many ideas for little things and I just love to be able to like put them into the music and create like my own little world around every single song, like because even when I write a song, I am painting about it. Even when I'm painting, I'm listening to a song that describes my painting. Like a lot of my art like kind of goes hand in hand regardless. So
Mhm.
being able to do that with my music has honestly been like the best thing ever. It's just been so much fun. It's kind of been like scratching all the right parts of my brain, which is just so lovely. Um, but yeah, I make music. I do visual art. I try to like just expand my mind in every way. I feel like when I was younger, a lot of the issues with me not being able to see myself doing this in any capacity was just that like I had never seen anybody that looked like me doing it. Like I'd never seen, especially like being in Florida, I would be like in the swamp surrounded by no one who was Dominican. Like they had no
Where in Florida were you living?
Broward. I was like in the swamp. Like
Okay. So like it was not like where is Broward like adjacent to like Miami?
45 minutes south.
Okay, got it, got it.
Like all towards the bottom. Like
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you have airboat rides where there's like men who pick up snakes with sticks.
Oh, okay.
That's
Yeah,
where I
yeah,
was. Like I was very much in the South. So I just didn't really see, I was just like, that doesn't make any sense. Like there aren't those spaces for me. And especially in theater, like I was a plus size girl growing up and I was bigger growing up and I just was always categorized as like, okay, you're just gonna be an old lady. Like I was in
yeah.
all these music,
I
like
bet.
I was in so many musicals talking about like divorce problems and like
You
singing.
never got to be the lead.
No, I was the lead. I
You
was
were
the
the lead.
but the lead was like grown woman who is
Yes.
5 years old who's singing about her divorce with her husband. And I'm sitting there like 16 years old, like, right. So let me unpack this. Like it was just I was doing such like things that were so out of myself that I just couldn't even imagine how to make art doing it being myself. But I feel like now it's just like my favorite thing to do.
So that's interesting because like do you find now like as you write music like you're the main character, or do you feel like just coming from that background of like being other people in your performances like ever lends itself to like writing music about like characters or different personas, or you know what I mean?
I feel like a lot of my music, especially like a lot of my new stuff, is it just kind of like lives like outside of the realm of like what is actual like reality. A lot
Yeah.
like so it's like a lot of my songs I am the main character, but I feel like it's a version of myself that I can't really like humanly do. Like
Yeah.
the version of myself in my music is like crawling on the ceilings. Like the version of myself in my music is like having the worst day of my life so my entire skin turns blue, you know?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. That it's like it's me, but it's a version of myself that I can't physically access. So being able to like access those parts of myself in my music has been like really, really very amazing. Especially I feel like I have like a very eccentric mind. I'm just like I'm a weird girl and I like stand in that, and I love being able to like make things about being like, oh, like I don't think that I'll ever be fully rested unless I can be in a little tube like an alien and be plugged into the wall for at least 20 minutes. Like then I'll be fully rested, like that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Okay.
So with that in mind,
Fine.
like how would you like I mean earlier you definitely said like we were trying to like sort of put you in a box. I always hate asking people these kinds of questions, but I feel like also when you're just like introducing yourself to the world, you kind of like have to answer these kinds of questions. Like how would you like describe your own music and like your influences and like your creative practice and your aesthetic? Like what are you trying to communicate to the world?
I think, okay, for my music, a lot of it is I make a lot of pop music with trap and rap influences, but it's mostly pop. That's like a lot of what I like to make. I think that like I love pop music. I love a good song. I love a good catchy thing. But I love singing, so I've been like venturing more into that of creation. But in terms of like inspiration and like my art in general, like a lot of it comes from most of my inspirations are honestly like old movies. A lot of my like my artistry comes from things that I had in childhood. I play a lot of like I play around a lot of I play around with a lot of things that I would have loved as a 16-year-old. Um which I don't even mean to do on purpose, but I kind of feel like it's those things that are just like deep inside of you that you kind of just like um nurture as you get older. But definitely like I think a lot of my influences that are popular in music right now would be like I love Tizo Touchdown. I love his artistry. I think he's so cool. I love the way he's like really weird. I love the way he like plays around with melodies in that way. He's one of my like really big inspirations. I love ChappelRoan. I think her stuff is so fun. Um and it just feels like an expression fully for herself, like of herself for herself. And I think that's mostly what I like am trying to do, to try to come across introducing other people to my form of expression, you know? And
Totally.
the ways that I like process my emotions, the ways that I like think about things, and the ways that the things that I would talk about in my music that I could never actually articulate.